There is a lot of things to talk about Agricool, but tonight I will focus on the way we work, and I wanted to share with you the way we work and the approach we have to put in place to succeed. So the title was around humility, but first I have a question for you. Have you already tasted a really good strawberries in Paris? Or maybe can you raise your hand? Have you tasted good strawberries in Paris? 1 people, 2 people? Okay. And have you tasted Agricool strawberries? Okay. It's really hard to find really good strawberries and mainly really good fruits and vegetables in Paris. Mainly because today we are producing not close by Paris, but really far away. And so vegetables and fruits are mainly produced and be transported. And so you have to use pesticides to maintain the crops during the traveling. And the problem is that you are producing bad fruits with poor quality, poor vitamin C, poor elements, poor sugar. So we started the problem. We wanted to solve it by relocalize the production area close by Paris, and mainly inside Paris, to produce good fruits and vegetables for everyone and make it affordable. Because mainly today is really kind of difficult to find really good fruits. So the point is that today we are growing strawberries. You will see in the next slide inside agroponic system. It's like aeroponic system to grow really good strawberries inside Paris. And we are selling the right away. The morning we are harvesting strawberries, and the afternoon we are selling them in Monoprix, in La Grande Épicerie, different place. And the solution is by developing a new production system. Call it the container. And inside, we recreate a paradise for strawberries. You know, we like to say that we try to manage every detail and every setting inside to recreate a really paradise. And this is really hard because you have to manage. We will see different kind of technical fields: agronomy, engineering, software development, software engineering, manufacturing. So you have to develop a lot of different kind of technologies. It's a huge challenge to try to feed people, you know, with good fruits and vegetables. So when we started, we knew that it will be a really good and really hard challenge. But the main point of this presentation is to talk about how we approach this challenge and by different technique we put in place. The first, when we started the project, we had the intuition that it's gonna work, you know, because at the beginning, when we wanted to grow, you know, strawberries inside recycled container, inside with LEDs, with a new support system, because you need to be really profitable to grow crops close to the city. We had the intuition to find a way, to find a system that it can be affordable for everyone to produce really good fruits and vegetables. So we started R&D and research because, okay, we want to grow strawberries inside the cities, but how can we do this? There is a system, there is a hydroponic system, okay? But mainly today, hydroponic system are for growing leafy greens, salads, herbs, but growing fruits is kind of hard. You have pollination, you have flowers, you have to be really precise, like with the climate, for example. So we have to start a lot of R&D, a lot of tests. We started, for the kind of drugs, we started the first R&D test just below you on the, on the basement of the family. And we describe the way that the crops is growing, and we find out what needs does the strawberries need to be really tasty and really good. And the second step was the deduction, because we wanted to prove it. We wanted to prove that it can be growing, you know, local strawberries inside Paris. So we had to develop technologies. And the first technologies we have to develop was, of course, LEDs, because you have to recreate the spectrum and the intensity that strawberries needs. And to give you just an example, at the beginning we tested the 20 LEDs on the market because, you know, there is Philips, Valoya, it's not a big company that already make indoor farming. So we wanted to test the LED on the market. And then we analyzed the spectrum and the intensity, and none of them were sufficient for us. They were highly cost, they were super bad efficient. So we designed our own LEDs. So today they are water-cooled LEDs. We are dividing the consumption per two. So we try to manage and to develop technologies aside crops' needs. For example, the strawberries need a blue and red. Okay, give blue and red to strawberries, not the whole spectrum of the sun, because it's energy consumption and it's not really affordable. So to give you an idea on LEDs, but it was on climate, it was an irrigation system. And aside these technologies we need to develop is software. I like to make the comparison between music composition. Agronomy is a piece of music you want to play, engineering was the instrument, and software was the conductor of the orchestra. So it was a really hard part because at the beginning we have to monitor everything. You have to collect a lot of data. We like to say that we made over 100 years of tests because the cycle of crops is like 3 months. So if you add every test we made almost 100 years, and we collect more than 10 billion data points. So you had to manage every data and to analyze and to describe the crops. So a lot of software engineering behind. And the other part is that everything is remotely controlled. So the container today, you have one in Bercy, is producing strawberries right now. It's completely remotely controlled, and you have everything you need to irrigate, to light up the crops. And the fourth technical area is manufacturing, because when you have a product that you have to produce your final product, it's kind of tricky to manufacture and to scale quality. So we try to find partners that will be able to design, to manufacture, the container. So we find kind of good partners that can scale up quality with us. And behind every steps we had, I wanted to talk about humidity. Because humidity, you can describe it in many ways. And I think in technical fields, the main point is that you have to minimize status difference between your teammates. It's kind of tricky, because when you are a CTO, you have a leadership, but you are nothing without your team, It's kind of cliche, but it's so true. That's the humility was an approach to succeed. It was completely natural. It's a good value on a manifesto. And so you have to develop and encourage this kind of culture. So humility was minimizing the stature difference. And another part was over the duration of the team. The creation of the team, it was to take feedback. You have to take every feedback of the team during the process. During the objective process, when you make plan and objective for the company, you have to take feedbacks in count. And it's really kind of tricky, because when you have to lead a team, you want to apply a plan. And this kind of another humility side is that you have to take feedback in count. The second one was, we like to say, Shakes attitudes. Is kind of another main values we have in Agricool. Is that it's a good balance between your knowledge and what you are sure about. It's kind of tricky too, because when you left the school, you have a lot of ideas, you have a lot of knowledge. Maybe you have some certitudes, and you have to use it to find a way to solve technical challenges, but without being so obstinate, and better balance between determination and obstination. Another point I wanted to talk with you, it was the focus of the team. It's kind of hard because, when you are growing strawberries, the first thing you heard about is like, okay, good strawberries, it's okay. What's next? Tomatoes, mushrooms, eggplants. Okay, what's next? And the main point was to focus on the really good strawberries. Not good strawberries, really good strawberries, and make it scalable. And so we really focus on strawberries. And at the beginning, we didn't know that it was so hard that we can make everything else easier. For example, if you want to plant salad, leafy greens, now we can do, because we made a so much higher technical precise that it's really easier to grow anything else. So at the beginning, we did not know that the strawberries were really intense in terms of technical challenges. But aside your product, you have to design your team and your organization. It's a good point because when you are growing, every month, you know, you're hiring people and your organization is growing up, and you have to develop your own organization. You have to find the organization that fits you well. Sometimes we are pushed to apply different organizations from outside, inside your company, but not every time is a good idea. You have to find your own way. It's kind of tricky too, because you will discover the organization that fits you well. Another part, another of my learnings, that you have to hire better every time. I'm working with brilliant people, and every time I hire someone, I want to hire better one, the next step, the next one. In Agricool, you have a lot of experts, and we managed to split career paths. You have management and expertise. It's really important because we didn't want that engineers do management to scale up the scale of career paths. We want engineers doing expertise if they want. We want managers to do management if they want, and none of them is like an obvious way. You can choose management, you can choose expertise, and respect the choice of your employees is really important. Because if you force someone to do management and they is bad at management, it will be another situation. And I wanted to end this famous quote, because it's kind of a good description of the challenges we faced and why we faced these kind of challenges. Like I said to you early, when we started, we didn't know that strawberries will be really hard to manage and to grow really tasty strawberries, because we realized that we have to develop our own technologies to be able to grow strawberries. And I think if we knew the whole technical challenges we have to face, I don't know if we started Agricool like this. So I think we are kind of crazy people to be in this kind of challenge, but at the end of the game, I think we are the only one to be able to make it. Thank you.
I mean, what you have done, it's super ambitious. Like, you came up with an idea of, for me, like, it was tough for investor to pitch in or to invest in you, because everyone would say, okay, everybody will eat any strawberry, but then you want to say, okay, I want to make the best strawberry that it's just beside your home, so the whole ecosystem, you're building it by yourself. So how was it difficult for you guys to convince an investor in early stage and tell him, okay, I have a technology, I know what I'm doing, and I will go and make it work?
They tested strawberries. The first, to raise money, we raised almost 35 millions. We had the chance to make R&D thanks to this kind of a big raising. And to convince investors, you have to really be precise, I think, in the kind of your technologies and your plan of growing, you know. But to convince investors, it's like a huge market, you know, it's really big. It's high risk, but high gain, you know. It's like kind of tricky, but feeding the world is really huge markets. So the benefits are huge, and the risk is too, because the technology is really early, you have to develop it, you have to convince that your technology is the best one. And the main point is that at the end, when they taste strawberries, and you said this was harvested this morning in Bercy, This is kind of easier way to convince them. It was tough. It was tough.
Sorry, but a follow-up question. So at the beginning, how did you guys started with the terms of financials? So you started like again fund from the university, or how it worked?
At the beginning, the two founders, Gonzague and Guillaume, started a prototype by themselves of the container. So to prove that it was possible, you know. So they built the first prototype themselves in 4 months. And then they make a really good media campaign to talk about this kind of production system inside Paris. And the first container we put was in Bercy. And then we had a media campaign around this kind of container, you know. And we had really good strawberries, but we had like 2-3 strawberries per day, you know. So you have to multiply the yield, you have to scale quality, you have to find a way to maintain this good quality, but really with a really huge amount of strawberries.
Will the system work on a more distributed and smaller scale? Like, for example, if in every apartment or every company we could have a smaller container, would the technology work? Would the daily yield of fruits be enough for, like, say, 1 or 2 people, 3 people?
It's a good question, yes. We think that centralize the production massively is a bad idea. That's why we want to decentralize the production, but not at the people size, you know, because we want to make it affordable. So if you want to make really good strawberries affordable, you have to mass produce and to stay on the same kind of quality. So if you want to be profitable, you have to be really mass production. So we like to say that we are 10 times more productive than a comparative growing crops in Holland or, you know, in Spain. And we are 100 times more productive than conventional farming in fields, you know. So yeah, we think that to make it affordable, you have to produce a lot. If you one container like this is producing 7 tons of strawberries per year. So if you put it on your garden, you will hit strawberries a lot. So well, you have to share it. But yeah, it's kind of a big production.
So you said that everything was you automated most of the things. Do you automate the picking of the strawberries?
It's a good question. Today we didn't develop a robot to harvest strawberries, but we developed technologies to facilitate harvest by image recognition, for example. It's the first step of automatization harvest. It's, I think, a long-term development, this kind of robots. But first steps is to make the job of the cultivator, so the people that harvest strawberries every day inside the container. It's a kind of a fun name, but these people have to have a job really easy. You don't need any competencies or skills in agronomic fields. You know, you have a training 3 weeks, and you will be able to harvest strawberries. So we try to develop technologies to facilitate this job for the moment.
Thanks a lot for the excellent talk. So yeah, I have a question regarding the business part. I know you are the CTO, but you say that it's important for you that you need to be profitable, of course, and to have strawberries, fruits, whatever, that are affordable. So I'm not at all an expert in your field, but I know some experience, a bit like yours in Groningen, in the Netherlands, and also in New York. And those companies or those systems, they struggle with the price, especially because there's a lot of R&D, engineering. So, I mean, don't tell me your secret sauce, but how do you manage this to have something which is affordable?
Yeah, it's a good question. Today, you have two kinds of, I think, indoor farming. You have very low-tech indoor farming that are producing low income revenue, crops, for example, salads. You can have a little, fridge and put a salad inside and put some LEDs and it's growing. And then you have high-tech indoor farming system that want to produce really massively and to maintain quality. This company today is growing leafy greens or salads. So the main point is that if you want to be really high-tech, you need to focus on high-value crops at the beginning because you have to finance and be profitable as fast as you can. So the main point is that strawberries is a high crops value. We can develop herbs, for example, or tomatoes. Tomatoes is less value than strawberries. So you have to be more productive and have a good quality.
So how much do you charge the customer for? I never tried your strawberries, but if I want to buy Agricool strawberries, how much is the market?
So a punnet of 250 grams today is €4.50. We put this price to be 10% below bio in Paris, organic, because we wanted to, we can't compete with cheap strawberries. With a strawberry that you pay €1, the 500 grams, we don't be competitive. But we want to propose a really good quality at a price affordable. €4.50, it's for now, it's like the first Tesla cost $200,000. And the vision is that we want to decrease the price to make it more affordable.
You said that you were 10% cheaper than organic strawberries. And is it possible with your company to turn bio, to turn organic?
Right. No, the organic label is like you can be organic if you are without soil. So we can't be organic. But the vision is to make Agricool a brand of strawberries, and we want to raise the standards of quality of organic too, because today you can eat strawberries organic from the Chile, or from Argentina. So we want to put it even more to restrain the delivery area. For example, today if you harvest the strawberries inside Paris, we are distributing Paris and not Marseille, I don't know. So we want to make a label and a really good brand of strawberries on fruits and vegetables, of course, but to focus on this brand to make a label, instead of organic.
So when the first founders started having the first prototype and wanted to, on one side, hire a team and have people helping them building the prototype, and on the other hand, just improving the project in itself, how do you manage to kind of build a process of screening for the right candidates? And then how do you manage the team to all work in the same direction? And when you're on the hardware project, it makes it harder because kind of everything is interconnected. So when someone has an idea, it kind of impacts the whole value chain of your product. So how do you manage to work on that?
I think we struggle every day on that, but I think we are getting better every month and every project we complete. I think the first year when we hire first employees, we wanted to hire experts and really good people and smart people, and we failed so much for the first hiring we made, but you had to find experts. But experts in startups. So if you put an expert in a desert, he has to build his own plane to find water and to come back, to work with you. It would be a good exercise. But so you have to find experts that can, be really, really smart people and autonomous. It's really important at the beginning. When you are 10 people, it's easy to work because you just take a table. You are all around the table. The information is really quick. And if someone needs something, 2 seconds, you have the information. When you are growing up and you have 50 people, it's really more complicated to have the instant information, instant feedback. So I think now we are developing kind of organization by project. It's like on a squad, you have agronomy experts, software engineers, marketing manager, and you have a project, a common project that you work together. I think we build a lot of transparency, in the information, and the fact you can access information really easily. So the main point, I think, is that at the beginning you have to find, there is not a secret sauce, you have to find really good experts, and then can be really startups-like, startup-like is like hacker mindset. It's really important at the beginning, because you have to make the impossible with nothing, so with no money and with no time. So you have to find the good way, and the first expert we hire today is the best ambassadors of this kind of culture inside the company. Every first employee is in the company today. So, yeah, the good expert is that the expert that can find the solution. Don't know if I answer completely the question, but so the question was, did we sell containers or did we sell do we sell strawberries? And the answer is that we are trying to make a vegetables and fruits brand. So we are selling strawberries right now, and today we want to scale up with kind of franchise. So the fact is that we can serve the technologies to some tier, franchise, independent, freelance, to exploit and operate the farm, but not of us. So we are trying to, at this moment, operate by ourselves, our farms, to learn every day. And in the future, we want to be able to make a franchise and to scale up the production like this.
On the expertise topic, it's difficult to have all the expertise inside the company. At first, did you not outsource, but used external experts, and does it happen? Because it's difficult to have someone that fits with the cultural company and then to be an expert in every field. And
yeah, it's a good question. At the beginning, we tried freelancers to complete the panel of knowledge we need. For example, we outsourced software at the beginning. We had freelancers to help us. But when you want to make really high quality and to be able to create a really good product, you have to do everything yourself. It's a learning that we had, is that it's really hard to find good partners at the beginning that will fit you well and you grow with you. It's kind of impossible. I think if you want freelancer, is because you have a really punctually, really punctually services that you have to outsource with very low value. But everything else, we have to do it internally. For example, manufacturing. Today we are finding partners externally, but we did everything inside before to learn how to manufacture it ourselves. How to learn, to process, to build it up, to see everything ourselves internally, and then we outsource the process.
you built the first one from scratch, everything.
Every container is in Paris like now was built by our teams. Yes, we find a really big factories and we just make everything inside.
Hello. So the story you tell is that you start with this particular fruit because it's the most difficult one to grow, but how much of this is actually true? And are you actually ready to produce other crops, other fruits, other vegetables? And if not, what are the biggest challenges to do so?
Growing strawberries is really difficult because you have the whole value chain of the production. You have the flower, so you have the leaves, the flower, the fruits, and then in strawberries, it's really tricky to have really good strawberries because you have sugar, you have acidity, you have tenderness. If you want to make the difference between a good salad and a bad salad, it's kind of okay. This one is good, this one is better, but really bad strawberries and the good ones is like instant feedback. you can have this kind of feelings. So strawberries is pretty hard because it's fragile too. if you make a mistake during 3 hours or 4 hours, you can just put it in garbage and do it again. So you have to be really precise. And then inside the container, I didn't detail everything, but you have bumblebees, for example, for pollination. So we have to manage an ecosystem. We don't use pesticides because we use insects to eat parasites of the strawberries. So we will create an ecosystem inside. So it's a very complex balance between different varieties of insects. And you have to manage the lighting, so you have to manage the climate really precisely. So everything is kind of tricky and precise. Today we have to learn how to grow this kind of strawberries perfectly, and that's what we done. And today now to develop other crops, we have the whole team of R&D ready to ship other crops, because it's really it's faster. You know everything about photosynthesis, the main point, spectrum, lighting, efficiency, everything. You have the technology, so you develop your own LEDs, you know how to make it, you develop your own climate control system, so you develop every technologies, and now you are just to find another recipe to make anything else. So the next challenge is to make other crops and to make it mass market, so you have to ship it really fast. We had 3 years of R&D behind us, and now the idea is in 6 months you have to launch a new crops. So, it's kind of faster.
Just a quick question. Do you have any competitors today?
Yes. We have competitors. When I distinguish the high-tech indoor farming and low-tech indoor farming, you have competitors during indoor farming. You have big factories in the US, for example, that are harvesting leafy greens, salads vertically with like 10 meters high. Really intense production, and so they do transportation because they are producing so much on the same location. You have to make transport. And today, a company that is building up an autonomous system that is growing everywhere, there is not much competition. For example, the one that we have in Dubai, because I didn't explain the whole thing, but we have a container in Dubai running from last year, and they eat the first strawberries in the desert, And the container is powered by solar panel, and we use 10 meters, square meters water instead of 15,000 square meters. So it's really, really poor water consumption. So yeah, not much competitor in this kind of direction.
I don't know if you heard of Kimball Mask, the brother of Elon Musk, and it seems to me that he's doing a company that's really similar. I don't know exactly if it's in the strawberries, and it seems to me that he's more focused on restaurants and the whole value chain. And do you consider him as a competitor? Yeah, it's like freight farms. Another competitor is like making containers like us, growing leafy greens and salad. And the main point is like the same question. If you want to grow high value crops or low value crops, we think that if you want to grow really low value crops, you need to be low tech as much as you can, of course. And freight farms did like a middle way. And today, if you want to grow salad and leafy greens, you can buy a freight farms container solution, but you have nothing else around. You don't have, the recipe upgrade from the R&D. You don't have supports. You can grow, anything you want inside the container. We have no supports. So we think that if you want to have the same standards of quality that we can have with strawberries, for example, you have to be really precise and not be as free as you can to sell containers like this. So we heard about the son of Elon Musk. He's buying containers with freight farms, but they want to make leafy greens and salad for restaurants at the moment. And developing a fruits will be another steps. I hope, honestly, I hope that the market and the indoor farming will grow fruits and vegetables because it's like when Google start data centers, the hard disk price just drop off. It's like the same thing. If everyone is making strawberries, fruits, and developing technologies, the price will constantly dropping. So it's a good for industry.
You were talking about your concurrency with American that make really high growing salads. And have you think about putting your containers vertically to have a higher density of strawberries?
Yes, totally. Today you can stack containers. There is no limits. Just the ground, support. But you can stack containers to improve your yield per square meters. Yes, you can stack them.
Stacking is easier than make them vertical.
Yeah, exactly. Stack it is better because we know, when we develop the technologies, we want it to be the most standard possible. We have to make it affordable, so the technologies we have to scale up. If you make really specific technologies inside everywhere, it will be a hard time to decrease the price. So it's really standard. Okay, thank you.